In every 2D platformer, you can interact with the world by moving around the player. But how do we actually move our player? In this video, we will do basic programming in GDScript to make our player walk and run smoothly using acceleration and deceleration, control our jump height, and do a wall jump. Then we add a smooth camera to follow our player around, and at the end of the video, I add a complex bonus move that will take the controller to the next level. My name is Mac, let's do this. We will kick things off by creating our project and setting up the main scene. First, open up Godot and create a new project. I call my project 2D Movement Tutorial. And if you need, create a new folder. Upon opening a new project, it always opens up on the 3D view. Since we're making a 2D game, navigate to the top and select 2D to open up the 2D view. I like to start by creating a few folders such as scenes, scripts and sprites to keep your project nice and tidy. Next we're going to create the main scene. In the scene window, create a 2D scene as the root node. Godot kinda works like a tree, and every individual part of the tree is called a node. You have the root of your tree called the root node and its branches are called child nodes. Rename the root node by right-clicking and selecting rename from the dropdown, and let's call it main. The little star on top indicates that a scene contains unsaved changes. Head on over to the scene dropdown and select save scene or hit Ctrl+S to save the scene. Then save the scene to the scenes folder. Next up, we'll get started on setting up the character. Click the plus button or press Ctrl+N to create a new scene. Then click other node and create a character body 2D as the root node of the new scene. Rename the node to player and save it to the scenes folder. Right click the player node, select add child node and add a collision shape 2D. Then in the inspector, go to shape, click on empty and select new rectangle shape 2D from the dropdown. Add a sprite 2D as a child of the main node and attach a texture to it by dragging one on the empty space next to texture. I'm using a 2D character design that I found on itch.io. The link is in the description. If your texture appears blurry, navigate to the inspector and under canvas item, unfold textures and set filter to nearest. Pack in a collision shape 2D, roughly match the size of your collider to your sprite. And lastly, we should attach a script to our player. Click on the player node and in the inspector, open the script dropdown and select new script. We're going to write in Godot's own scripting language called GDScript. Ensure that the template is enabled and that it's set to character body 2D basic movement. Then I will name the script player controller and save it to the scripts folder. And then hit create. When the script opens, you will already see a few lines of code. Right now, the template script contains a base for a functional player, but we'll go through that in a moment. First, go back into the 2D scene view and open up the main scene. Drag the player from the scenes folder into the main scene, somewhere within these borders, representing the default camera view. Let's test this out. Hit the play button on the top right corner and click select current. When the game loads, you'll notice the player falling out of the screen. This is because there's nothing yet for the player to stand on. To fix this, add a static body 2D to the root node and then attach a collision shape 2D to it. This time, set the shape to world boundary shape 2D. Position the static body somewhere below the player, then press play again, and when the game loads, you see that the player falls until it hits the new floor. Awesome! You can head back to the script by selecting script at the top of the screen. Now the template script already does a few things for us. The physics process function and everything inside is by default called 60 times per second. We will use it to write physics-based movements within its scope, with a scope being those arrows in front of the most things. This script already contains 5 scopes. An if statement is one of the most important programming structures. When the given condition is true, it executes its code block. When it's not true, the program will ignore the code block. An if statement can check for multiple conditions separated by AND and OR operators. Writing a not in front of a condition negates it. Then you have the if-else statement. When the given condition is true, the program will only execute this code block, and if the given condition is false, it will only execute the code block after the else. Over here, when the player is not touching the floor, we'll add gravity to the vertical velocity, meaning that the player will fall. The default value of a gravity in the 2D project is 980. This value can be found and adjusted in the project settings under Physics and then 2D. Here it says if we press the UI accept action, which by default is the spacebar, and the player is touching the floor, we set the vertical velocity equal to the jump velocity. When the player presses the UI left or UI right action, which by default are left and right arrow keys, the player moves into that direction by the value of speed. At the bottom of the script we have the move and slide function. For now, the only thing you should know is that it is a built-in feature. It calculates and applies the actual move by the changes we made to the velocity. If you want to learn more about built-in features like this one, just right-click it and select Lookup Symbol. Above the walking section is a comment that says, as good practice, you should replace UI actions with custom gameplay actions. So, before writing any code, we want to add some custom actions and add keybinds to them that we can use in our script. Head on over to the project dropdown and select Project Settings. In a new window, click on the tab called Input Map. Let's add a few actions. Since we want to walk to the left and to the right, we'll add left and we'll add right. Then assign a keybind to it by pressing the plus button next to it. You can assign any value you'd like, but I'd like to assign the left arrow to the left and the right arrow to the right. Next I'll add a run, and I'll assign shift to it, and then I'll add jump, and assign space to it. Back in the script, let's replace the old actions with our new ones. UI accept becomes jump, UI left becomes left, and UI right becomes right. Gravity already works exactly like it is supposed to. So let's head on over to walking. This also works, but I want to introduce some flexibility to it so you'll learn how to get full control over your player character. First, we will replace the const speed value with a var. The identifier const means constant, and its value cannot be changed while the game is active. On the other hand, the identifier var means variable, and its value can be changed while the game runs. Let's change the name to walk speed and give it a default value of 150.0. Then replace all the capitalized speed instances throughout the script with our new variable. I want walk speed to be a value we can change directly from within the inspector. When you select our player node, you see the default settings for our character body 2D. When we write the export annotation in front of walk speed, you see that a new setting shows up. Now you can change the walk speed value directly without changing any code, which will become very useful later. Next up is smoothing out the walking. Currently we walk if direction has a value that is not 0, else we supposedly decelerate. I say supposedly because you won't notice it in the game. The move toward function requires 3 so-called parameters: from, to, and delta. Move toward is named so because it moves the value from toward the value of 2 by the size of delta. If we start moving to the right, the value of velocity.x is equal to the walk speed. If we stop moving, we decrease the value of velocity.x, also by the value of walk speed, meaning that the total sum is instantly 0. What we want is to reduce the value of velocity.x much slower. Start by adding a new variable called Deceleration and give it a default value of 0.1. It should also be accessible to the inspector, but this time we use the @export_range annotation, with range 0 to 1. This creates a handy slider that easily helps us adjust the variable while staying within the defined range. Now in the move toward function we multiply walk speed by the deceleration. This causes the delta of the function to be much smaller and the vertical velocity to decrease slower. If you run the game now and move around, notice how the character decelerates when you stop giving any input. Awesome! Acceleration will look very similar to deceleration. Let's first add acceleration as a new variable the same way we did with the deceleration on top. Then we are going to use another move toward to apply this acceleration to the horizontal velocity. But instead of moving from our current velocity to 0, we will move from our current velocity to the product of direction and walk speed. And our delta will be walk speed multiplied by acceleration. Alright, let's test it out again. Run the game and watch how your character builds up speed and gradually slows down when stopping. Now let's make our player able to run. Start with adding a new variable called run speed and assign a value like 250.0 to it. Above the section we just edited, create a new variable called speed. Then add an if statement with the condition input.isActionPressed and pass in run as the parameter. Don't forget to add a colon at the end. Inside the scope of that if statement, set speed to run speed. And then on a new line, go back one scope by pressing backspace and add else with a colon at the end. And in there, assign walk speed to speed. Finally, replace the walk speed in the acceleration part with just speed. I don't want to change it in the deceleration part, because that would make slowing down inconsistent for both walking and running. Let's run the game and test to see if everything works. Now if we walk and start holding down shift, we move a bit faster. The jump of the template script already works really well. Currently, we press space and then we jump. Just as with the movement, I want to make the jump accessible to the inspector. Let's start with creating a new variable called jump force. Remove the jump velocity constant and replace all its instances with jump force. Next, we will make the jump of a variable height. A variable height jump is a mechanic that allows the player to control the height of the jump based on how long the jump button is held down. For this, we need another variable. We name it Decelerate on jump release and make it a ranged slider just like with the acceleration. Let's set its default value to 0.5. Below the normal jump section, add the following if statement. If input.isAction just released, with jump as its parameter, and next to it, velocity.y is smaller than 0. Inside the scope of the if statement, write velocity.y times equals decelerate on jump release, meaning we just multiply the vertical velocity by the release deceleration. Check it out in the game. If we hold down the jump button, we go pretty high. If we jump and release early, we jump much lower. This is because our upward momentum is decelerated when releasing the jump button. And velocity.y is smaller than 0, make sure this only happens when we're moving upward. Next up is the wall jump. But before we're going to program the wall jump, we need to add a wall to our scene. Let's head back to the main scene for a second. Add a new static body 2D node to the root node of the scene. Then attach a collision shape 2D to that as well. And then set the shape to a rectangle again. You could add another sprite to visualize it, but it's also easy to visualize it with a color rect node. Size it down a bit so it matches the collider size, then you can just use the scale tool on the entire thing to create some sort of wall. In order to wall jump, we will have to add something to the jump code. Head over to the jump section and put isOnFloor in between parentheses. Add an OR behind it and set the condition to isOnWall. Now the if statement can be read as if the jump button is just being pressed and we touch either the ground or a wall, we jump. Alright, let's jump into a wall and try it out. If you're on the wall, press space and watch how our player performs the wall jump. To finish up with our player controller, we should add a dynamic camera to it that smoothly follows the player around. The easiest way to do so is by going to the main scene and adding a camera 2D as a child node of our player. Make sure it's centered on the player, and then if you run the game now, you see that the camera is already following our player, but it's not smoothly. Click on the camera in the scene window, then in the inspector show up some options. Look for Position, Smoothing and Unfold it. Enable it and adjust the speed to your liking. The lower the value, the smoother the camera movement will be. Then navigate to Drag and Unfold it. What drag essentially is how far the player can come to the edge of the screen before the camera starts following them. I enable both horizontal and vertical and let the default values be. Since we're using physics, set the process callback to physics, otherwise the camera movement will feel very jumpy. Lastly, I like to zoom in on my character a little bit, and then finally, let's test this out again. Now, if you start moving, the camera will smoothly follow the player around wherever it goes. The bonus move that I want to show you is a dash. It's such a small mechanic, but adds a whole new level to the gameplay. The dash will be much more complex than the other ones, but it combines all previous concepts while smoothly introducing a few new ones. Get ready, because we will go through it swiftly. First, we need to add a dash action to our input map, so let's do that first. Head on over to the input map in the project settings, and then add our dash. I assign control to it. Then back in the script, we need to add some inspector variables to do the following. Dash speed to set our speed. Dash max distance will be the maximum distance of our dash. Dash curve will be a curve to control the dash speed, and dash cooldown will be the time our player has to wait before being able to dash again. After that, we'll add variables that shouldn't appear in the inspector. Is dashing to keep track of when we are dashing, dash start position to calculate if we reach the maximum distance, dash direction to remember what direction we started dashing into, and dash timer to make sure we can't dash when it's on cooldown. Next, we write an if statement that checks if we are able to dash. We can only dash if we press the dash button, if we press one of the direction buttons, if we are not already dashing, and if dash is not on cooldown. If all conditions are true, we should tell the code that we started dashing, keep track of the start position, set what direction we dashed into, and set the cooldown timer. Then we tell the game what to do when is dashing is set to true. We need to calculate the current distance of our dash and check if it exceeds the maximum distance. If it does, we want to stop dashing. We should also stop the dash when we hit a wall. Then, if we didn't exceed the max distance and we are not hitting a wall yet, we perform the dash by assigning the product of direction, speed, and the curve to the horizontal velocity. We keep track of our position on the curve by dividing our current distance by the maximum distance. We set the vertical velocity to 0 to prevent us from falling down during the dash. Then we add 2 more lines that take care of reducing the timer when it's active by subtracting delta from the dash timer. Delta is the time between the current frame and the last frame. Let's configure the speed curve. In the inspector, look for dash curve, click on the empty next to it and select new curve. Here you can control the speed of the dash during its execution. Left click to add or edit any points and right click to remove them. You can make all sorts of patterns with it, like gradually going faster or zigzagging, but I'm just using it to smooth out the dash by starting fast and slowing down towards the end. As you can see, I went ahead and added a few animations to my player and a level for it to run around in. And there you have it. We fully programmed a basic character controller that can walk and run, jump at variable heights, wall jump and dash around.